All right. So this is kind of going to be like just hard truths you got to accept, whether that's like trading, life, whatever. Excuse me. But no. So to be honest with you, I just feel like recording a fuck ton of psychology videos today. I kind of just want to talk. I kind of want to take a step away from the charts today. To be honest with you, so like obviously we didn't trade over the weekend, so there's no trade recaps. I don't really want to do any trading concepts today. Um I just feel like this is the most appropriate thing. This is like the most important thing for me to stress to anyone watching this right now. Like, the last one we were talking about, what's it called? We were talking about like overconfidence, um, mistakes, all that nature. So like this one is kind of just gonna be hard truths you have to learn because it's just important. I mean, like, even if you watch this and you don't even fucking trade, this is just, especially the first part of this video, it's just going to be incredibly important for you to learn. So, no coffee, just Propel. But it's great flavored. Really great drink. But a big thing you kind of have to learn here is that shit happens. Like, shit's going to happen to you. Shit's not going to go your way. It's going to go against you. It's not like the universe targets one person to have bad things happen to. It's just going to happen to you, and you have to understand that, because once you understand that, then you don't need comforting. Like, you kind of just gotta, I don't know, I'm kind of blanking here, but you just gotta focus on your goals and understand that shit's gonna happen. You're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna get unlucky. Shit's gonna happen. Like I said, like, shit's just gonna happen, and you have to accept it and know where to go from it. Know what you can do to help it, and not stress. Because I talked about this shit with my landscaping company customers. I talk about it with my family members. I talk about it with my friends. I talk about it with my fucking teachers at my school. This shit I literally tell to everyone, and it's just like, that's just how it is. Shit's gonna happen, and you have to accept what you can't change and not stress over it, because if you're stressing out about this shit, it's not gonna change it. And then do what you can about what you can change. So it's kind of like, it's like if you're trading poorly, you're making mistakes, correct that shit. But you also have to accept that some things are out of your control. Like, even someone like me, sure, I might never have to worry about money again in my life or something like that, but there's still shit that can get to me. Like, any of my family members could die. I could die tomorrow. That shit's gonna happen. And you can't be stressing out over that shit. Like, my grandma's in a nursing home, whatever, she has dementia, this shit and that shit. It sucks, whatever. I spend time with her, but am I God? Can I heal her of it? No. So why would I stress over it? Like, don't stress over shit you can't change, and change things that you can. It's that simple. So, nothing you can change. Absolutely can change your economic status. You can absolutely change your body. You can absolutely change your view, your mindset. And that's probably the biggest thing out of all of this. If you can change your mindset and you can become a calm person like me, and like just like, how do I want to put this? Like a strong person, I guess. If you can become a strong, passionate person, then you can do anything. Whether that's in the gym, like pumping weights. Wrong way. No, I'm not that big anymore. I only gained like 20 pounds this bulk. So I'm still like 20 pounds away from like my prime. I'm planning on gaining 40 to be in my next prime, but anyways, no. So shit like that, you can attain your goals in the gym. You can fucking, with this mindset, you can get a lot of money. And then, in the same sense, something crazy devastating, which is a horrible event that happens, but like a death in the family. Maybe you get some crazy sickness, maybe your mother gets some crazy sickness. You can deal with that and be okay with it while still pursuing your goals. And that's, well, I gotta pause this, dude. Holy shit. Sorry, I'm like very congested, but no. So that's a really crucial part of this. You have to adopt a chill, go with the flow mindset, and things should be boring. Like trading, it at this point it bores me. Am I so passionate about it? Hell yeah. But when I actually hop on market, I've grown so used to making like a band a day, doing this, doing that, that it's boring to me. It's just something that happens. And I would say once you get to the point where you can be bored trading, I would say you're 50%, maybe a little bit more there. You're 100% there in terms of profitability. You're probably 120% there. You probably reached profitability ages ago. But it's a major milestone because then once you reach the stage where you can get bored by trading, which means you're profitable, it's just some shit that happens, then you're already printing money, so then it just becomes time to scale. Like go from a 100K funded account to 500K, open up another 500K, then you have $1 million, start trading with your own capital, this and that. But that's a big thing. Just kind of, this sounds like corny, but finding your zen. Like just going with the flow. Because the only reason I'm even avidly making money and shit is because capitalism exists. If it wasn't for that, if it wasn't for working, like, you better know, if I could, I wouldn't even work. Like, if I could, I would just go surf all day, snowboard, do shit like that, just chill. But capitalism exists, and you can actively seek better things, better possessions, a better life. So you sure as shit should be doing that. I'm not gonna lie to you. Now, if we were cavemen, absolutely, I'd want to just explore the world all day. But unfortunate thing is, there's parking lots, there's fucking stores, this and that, so can't really do that. So that's kind of like a big thing I had to accept because that's all I wanted to do for a long time. Like, as soon as I got done with football, before I even started my business or anything, that's all I wanted to do was explore the world. Well, how are you going to do that if you have no money? And then as I started to get money, I started to like making my money make more. And I started falling in love with this concept of making this money in the future, being able to retire my entire family, like my dad, my sister, my mom, my grandparents, if they're still around when I hit it, and this and that. Being able to live in comfort for the rest of my life, being able to get all these cars. I fell in love with that idea more than traveling. Will I still go on crazy vacations and dinners and shit? Hell yeah. But something you gotta understand. So speaking about issues coming in, even like we'll go with a smaller example and then a bigger example. So when I first started my business, so many issues came up. You know, my my car had so many issues, and that's why I ran my business through was my vehicle. You know, you can't really run a business if you can't drive to jobs, bring your materials to jobs, shit like that. So I had issues with my car's brakes, calipers, tires, wheels, all of that. And it was just one after the other. Like, I would just have weeks of just all these issues, but I was still running my business. Why is that? And my dad, I had his help a lot here, but every time I had an issue, I would address it head on. Even once I got like 4 repairs, 5 repairs in, I still didn't like crumple in the corner like a little bitch. I didn't do any of that. I wasn't like, why is the universe targeting me? No, you can't do that because what's that gonna change? Nothing. So instead of being in that loser mindset, what I would do is I would fix the problem, test drive, see if it worked, and then it worked. So then I would go on, do some work, another problem came out, same thing. Fix the problem, keep working. Another problem, fix the problem, keep working. And during this entire time, because I already had a pretty strong mindset established, I would just keep doing it and keep going. And then when I had issues in my business, I would correct the mistake and keep going. And that's just really what you gotta do because It's just how, like, it's a cruel world we live in. Like, you gotta accept that fact, and you gotta fucking, every single issue, every fork in your path, you correct it and keep going. Because all it takes is one issue that you have a negative reaction to, and your life is shit down the drain. Um, so, with that being said, what kind of, what really can drive you to get past all these issues? So, it's having a level mindset. So, like, being healthy, being in the gym, getting a good amount of food in, not doing drugs, none of that, being like level headed, being able to deal with stress. If you have to do bubble breaths, whatever this stuff, that's great. I don't blame you one bit. Personally, I've always just been able to use this like good mindset to get over stuff, so I haven't really had to use any techniques or anything like that. But if you do, I don't disrespect you in any regards. But that's a big thing. And then probably the second part to that is having crazy goals that you want so bad that you will steamroll any fucking issue that gets in your way. Like, my goals for my business were so crazy that I was like, I'm never going to achieve these goals if I don't just keep going. So, what's the only option then? To keep going. And that's something you have to realize. But, like, even a bigger issue, I'm not going to lie. Like, I'm a white kid. I live in the suburbs. I'm a dude. So, on paper, my grandparents, good amount of money. My dad, a business owner, good amount of money. Um, Whatever. Like, all that. On paper, I have an amazing position, like, logistically. Amazing starting point. But everyone has their issues. Like, ooh, this is a little personal to be put on the internet. We'll just say it wasn't always that way. Um, and I wasn't always as supported. Um, and at some points, before I was living with my dad, I don't think this would ever happen living with my dad, but when I was living with my mom, I would go weeks, eh, maybe like a large amount of days to a small amount of weeks, where she'd be obsessing over her boyfriend, and me and my sister pretty much took a back seat. Luckily, she was pretty much an adult at this point. I was not. She was living with my grandparents for the most part, and I would be fending for myself. Um, Obviously, I'm 17 now, so it wouldn't be a big deal now. But this is back years ago, so I moved into my dad's like probably sophomore year. So this was before I was even in high school when this was happening, and I was cooking for myself, still lifting, doing my own shit, figuring out my rides to my sport events, figuring my shit out. Because what are you gonna do? If I'm just like, where is she? What's she doing? Not gonna do much. If I'm crying, even like as a little kid, it's not gonna do anything. You gotta just be like, well, shit, this is going on. So, does this directly interfere with my goals? If it does, then figure out a way to pivot. And if it doesn't, then just keep pursuing your goals. And that's what I did. And came out of it. And pretty successful. But it's a little bit of a touchy subject. Nothing to get emotional over. I would never really get emotional. I don't view its purpose. I'm a very logistical thinking person, but I mean, you know, that shit happened. What else? So then, once we finally got moved into my stepdad's house, then it was different. Now, we were living not lavishly, definitely not lavishly. I'll put it that way. Um, Money was somewhat tight. Um, Pretty tight. Um, but once she got her goal, which I guess is kind of thinking from her mindset, being able to be with her boyfriend constantly, my sister was out of the house already. Um, then we would be essentially paycheck to paycheck. I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to step on eggshells here. I'm going to be completely honest. But I would never go hungry. She would always put, because she knew about my goals, how I was chasing this crazy physique on being really good at football. Always, I would have big ass dinners. Like, if I wanted to get, this is crazy, like looking back, if I wanted to get a $5 protein shake from the gas station on the way to school, she'd always get it for me. Which $5 now, that's like not even anything. But back then, that was kind of big money. Um, not for everyone, but so she would help me do that. She would always ask if I needed money, anything like that. She would always make sure my needs were met. So then it was better, you know. It's pretty nice. Um, and I respect her a lot for that, and that's why I'll really never judge anyone because on the surface, like my grandparents were pretty annoyed with her because of other habits she had. Um, and even like my sister, a lot of people in the community would be talking bad about her, but she always made sure I was fed, always made sure I had what I needed. So that's kind of why I'll never judge anyone and I'll always have respect for everyone because if it looks like you don't know what someone's going through. So if it looks like they might be doing a poor job or whatever, you don't know what they care about. You know, for her, it was caring about me. So she always made sure I was doing amazing. And that's why I'll always have respect for everyone, no matter if it looks like they're doing good, doing bad, whatever. Because she was putting it in where it mattered. And looking back, it was a very wise investment. But, you know, you can't judge people because you don't know what they're going through. And you don't know what their kids are going through. You don't know what their parents are going through. You don't know what they're doing for their kids, what they're doing for their parents. Um, so you know, there was that. That was great. And then at a certain point in that timeline, like moved in with my dad, and then things were great. You know, I could do what I wanted. Not that that was always a good thing. But no, I could do what I wanted. I had freedom. I was respected, trusted. He always made sure I was getting whatever I needed, no matter what was going on with him. So it is amazing, like amazing parenting from that foot forward between her and between my father. Um, so whatever. I had that going. Then pretty bad, pretty bad point somewhere around there. Um, Probably once I was like done with football and I had my injury, that was pretty bad. But whatever, that happened. And once I was hurt, like in football and shit, that was bad. That was honestly one of those stages in my life for where a point where I was kind of just like drifting. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And as a result, nothing successful came out of it. No progress in the gym, no money, none of that. And that's why you can't get fed up over one mistake. Because one thing that I couldn't control, um, like one just unlucky moment, I was stressing out over it when I couldn't change it. And what did that do? Made me lose all of my progress in the gym, not make any money, pretty much just be in a standstill, like just stalling out. Then, once I started getting going, I started working a job, started getting my money up, got back in the gym, getting my physique up. And that's what happens. Once you can accept something that's happened out of your control, then you can start to grow, and then you can tap into your work ethic, and then you can start working, making more mistakes on your own that you can actually correct this time. And then that's what I did. Eventually, the business came out of it, and then that came with its own mistakes that I corrected, and trading mistakes I corrected, and then yeah, like even right now, I have a ton of stuff hanging over my head. Whatever, like I'm not gonna lie, like other people would regard it as trauma, but I view it as shit that just happens, and you have to accept that stuff. That's what happens. So that's kind of like I don't want to go too much into my whole life and backstory and like what I have going on right now, but like It's literally that simple. The things that you can change, you change for the better. So your physique, your money, like your economic status, even relationships with others, you can always better those if you're really that's one of your goals and you really want to pursue that. And then things you can't change, like illness, um, what else is there? Like death in the family, whatever. You have to accept that and accept that you can't change that. And then once you accept that, you can grow, you can grieve, you can heal, whatever. And then you can start advancing on your goals again and get your life back on track. And it's probably about it, honestly. I'll think real quick. I'll pause this and think. And like, because of this concept, I'll give other people a lot more leeway than I give myself. And I'll like be comforting and stuff. But I'm also going to tell them what they need to hear and what the reality of the situation is because that's just as important. So with myself, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't give myself the benefit of the doubt. I would just be like, and because that's the way I think, I just think, can I change this? And then if the answer is no, then I'm not going to try to change it because that's wasted time, wasted stress, all of that. And then if you can change it, then you start changing it. Like you just start going. And that's basically it. You need to become the strong-minded person where you can, whether it's death, illness in the family, illness in general, whatever, some crazy thing happens, you need to become this strong-minded individual where you can instantly be like, can I change this? And then be like, no, I can't change it. So then stop stressing over it instantly, like with a switch. Um, and then in the same sense, you need to be like, can I change? This is pretty bad. Can I change this? Can I work to make this better? Can I work to like fix this? Whether it's a personal mistake, something that just happens, or whatever, like a car issue, something like that. And then you better damn be the strong enough of a person where you instantly get to work on that shit and like start fixing it and start advancing in your life and shit. Don't dwell on that shit. Be like, yeah, okay. So can I change this? Yes. So I'm going to start changing it. And then in the same sense, for people that are weaker minded and they'll get stressed out and like dwell on stuff like this, you have to be accepting of them. And whether you're a conservative, liberal, whatever, you just have to understand. I think this is more of a liberal philosophy, honestly. You have to understand not everyone's going to be as strong-minded as you. So when other people come to you with their issues, it's completely okay to be like tell them what they need to hear and be like, yeah, well, this happened. You can't change this, so you're better off just chilling out and not stressing about it. But you also have to use that comforting factor, which this is where the kind of the liberal philosophy comes in, I guess, where you have to be like, you have to put it in a comforting way. You know, you got to kind of mix the two political stereotypes here. And you got to be like, say someone just died, you got to be like, how would I say it? I would probably be like, yeah, it's definitely a horrible situation. Um, but this might sound a little like heartless or harsh, but it already happened, so I would kind of chill out. I'll be here for you, but you kind of got to just accept it and, take your time to grieve and then get back on it. And that's exactly how I would respond to it. Um, And that's exactly what it comes down to. I hate to sound like a broken record, but you need to be a strong person to accept the things you can't change and change the things that you can change. And then you also have to be empathetic towards others so that when something crazy happens with them and they're not as strong with you, you can tell them what they need to hear, but also be comforting and make sure that they're someone that you're someone they can confide in and they can trust that you're going to show support for them and be kind to them because that's exactly what you would want if you were a weaker minded person. Now, if you're a stronger minded person like myself, you're not really going to care because you're already going to be either changing it actively or you're going to accept that you can't change it. But to each their own, everyone's different. And we'll kind of end it here.